America's favorite TV mom has just broken down in tears and the whole world is watching. Phylicia Rashad, forever etched in our hearts as the graceful and wise Claire Huxtable, has now opened up about the devastating loss of her on-screen son, Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Her heartbreaking words, "Not my Theo," have left fans stunned, filled with sorrow and lost in reflection. But what she revealed in her most intimate moments will truly leave you breathless. This isn't simply about grieving a fellow performer. This is the tale of a mother's love that went far deeper than just acting, and the truth behind it all is even more painful than anyone could have imagined. When we think back to The Cosby Show, we remember more than just its humor or memorable episodes. We recall a family that felt incredibly real, a mother figure whose wisdom was unwavering, and a son who matured before our eyes from a mischievous teen into a thoughtful, grounded man. That enduring mother-son bond shared by Phylicia Rashad and Malcolm-Jamal Warner wasn't just great television, it was something much deeper, something timeless. And now that powerful connection has been tragically severed. Malcolm-Jamal Warner has passed away, and the woman who helped raise him on screen, who once lovingly called him her spiritual son, is mourning in a way the public has never witnessed. In this video, we're diving straight into the emotional core of this heartbreaking loss. What Phylicia revealed in her private tribute was so honest, so emotional, even those closest to her were brought to tears. Rare behind-the-scenes moments between Phylicia and Malcolm prove their relationship went far beyond the script, and the quiet anguish in her words, "Not my Theo," carries more heartbreak than anyone could have foreseen. That phrase, "Not my Theo," now rings out through generations of devoted fans. You'll be stunned by what Phylicia once admitted during an old behind-the-scenes interview, one that, in hindsight, feels hauntingly like a final farewell. And wait until you hear the deeply personal message she sent to Malcolm's biological mother. This is where everything shifts. So grab a tissue, you're going to need it, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at their on-screen bond the same way again. Malcolm-Jamal Warner wasn't just a former child star, he represented something greater. From the moment he lit up the screen as Theo Huxtable with his charm, quick wit, and everyday appeal, he became a permanent fixture in America's living rooms. A big brother we all wished we had. But behind that easy smile and calming presence was a man carrying both brilliance and unseen struggles. His sudden death at only 54 years old stunned the entertainment world, and understandably so. Warner was still highly active, writing poetry, making music, appearing on shows like The Resident, and guiding younger talent behind the scenes. By every account, he was thriving, healthy, passionate, and still building his legacy. So what went wrong? Reports indicate Malcolm was found unresponsive near a lakefront home in Northern California, where he had been spending time with close friends over the weekend. Sources say he stepped out alone near the water later that night. When he didn't return after several hours, friends became alarmed and began searching, only to find his body near the shoreline the next morning. Paramedics were called, but they arrived too late. He was pronounced dead at the scene. According to the coroner's preliminary report, the cause of death was accidental drowning. Toxicology results are still pending. While no foul play has been detected, there's still no clear answer as to how a man so full of life and athleticism could vanish so suddenly. Fans were left in complete shock. How could Malcolm, who just days before had posted a heartfelt and introspective message on Instagram, now be gone? His final post read, "Gratitude is a daily ritual. You never know when it'll be your last chance to say thank you." Now, those words feel haunting, almost as if they were a prediction. As though he sensed something on the horizon, or perhaps he was simply living by a principle he always held close, appreciating every moment with gratitude. But as the world struggled to come to terms with the heartbreaking news, one silence grew louder than all the rest, and the moment Phylicia Rashad finally ended that silence, it was as if an emotional dam had broken. But before we explore her raw and deeply heartfelt response, let's take a step back to where it all began. Because what Phylicia and Malcolm shared wasn't just a relationship scripted for television, it was genuine. And it ran far deeper than most ever realized. When The Cosby Show first premiered in 1984, no one could have imagined the cultural tidal wave it would unleash. At the center of that movement stood the Huxtable family, smart, loving, and unapologetically Black, Cliff and Claire Huxtable introduced a new kind of American family to the screen, successful, deeply relatable, and full of love. But among all the relationships that unfolded on the show, the one that resonated most was the powerful bond between Claire Huxtable, brought to life by the regal and commanding Phylicia Rashad, and her son Theo, played by the bright-eyed, ever-charming Malcolm-Jamal Warner. From the very first season, the connection they shared was crystal clear. Phylicia infused her character with a graceful wisdom and a maternal warmth, while Malcolm complemented her presence with clever humor, natural timing, and a youthful vulnerability. Whether it was a heart-to-heart about grades or a light-hearted moment over a failed household chore, their scenes didn't just entertain, they felt real. They didn't just play mother and son, they were mother and son, in every way that truly mattered. What many fans never realized is that this incredible bond didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling. Over the years, both Phylicia and Malcolm spoke candidly in interviews about the deep admiration and respect they held for one another. Malcolm once called Phylicia his second mother, explaining that she didn't just act the part, she embodied it, even behind the scenes. "She kept us in line," he once said. "She made sure we carried ourselves with dignity. She made used to believe we were destined for greatness, and Phylicia? She never held back when expressing her deep affection for Malcolm." In a 2015 interview, she became visibly emotional while reflecting on how young he was when the show began, just 14 years old, and how she had the privilege of watching him grow into a strong and grounded man. He had always been remarkably thoughtful. Fame wasn't what he was after, he was in pursuit of something deeper, purpose. And in a child star, that's something incredibly rare. After the camera stopped rolling, their bond didn't fade, it grew even stronger. Phylicia stayed closely connected to Malcolm, especially during the more difficult chapters of his life, those dark seasons in Hollywood when he felt unseen, pigeonholed as Theo, or quietly battled depression. But Phylicia's presence wasn't just that of an old co-star, she became a lifeline. She'd send him thoughtful books, leave uplifting messages on his voicemail, and call simply to ask if he'd eaten. As Malcolm once reflected, "No matter how far I slipped, I always knew Claire Huxtable well. Phylicia would be there for me." So when word spread that Malcolm had died, every eye turned toward Phylicia Rashad. And when she finally broke her silence, it was clear this wasn't just about losing a colleague, it was about losing a son. But what poured out of Phylicia wasn't only sorrow. What followed shocked everyone. It started with one simple post, no image, no long caption. Just a plain black square on her verified Instagram page. A widely recognized symbol of mourning, and underneath it, just 3 words that sent a wave of emotion crashing across social media. "Not my Theo." That was all it took. Just 3 words. Instantly, her comment section exploded. Thousands of fans, celebrities, and close friends flooded the post with condolences, not just for the loss of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, but for Phylicia herself. Because those who really knew her story understood what most casual viewers didn't. This wasn't just the loss of a castmate, this was personal, deeply personal. In mere hours, the post went viral. Major media outlets from Variety to The Shade Room picked up the story. But what happened next was even more heartbreaking. Phylicia, long respected for her composed, regal public image, let that calm exterior fall away during an emotional moment at a private tribute in New York City. Those who were there said they had never seen her like that before. Open, vulnerable, and completely shattered. She walked onto the stage holding a framed photo of herself and Malcolm taken on the Cosby Show set, a candid picture where she was laughing, and he was gazing at her with admiration. Then with trembling hands, she spoke. "There are roles you play in life that never really leave you," she began. "And Malcolm, he never stopped being my Theo, and I never stopped being his Claire." She paused, drew in a deep breath, and then the tears came, real, unfiltered, and full of pain. "I should have told him I loved him more," she admitted. "I did love him, but I thought I had more time to say it." The room fell silent. Even legendary names like Debbie Allen, sitting in the front row, were seen wiping tears from their eyes. And then came the most chilling moment of the night, one that still echoes in the minds of everyone who heard it. "He called me 2 weeks ago," Phylicia said quietly. "Said he just wanted to hear my voice. He didn't talk much. He just listened. I didn't realize that was goodbye." Gasps could be heard across the room. This wasn't just mourning, it was regret. the kind that cuts deep even through the strongest hearts. After the tribute, sources close to Phylicia confirmed she pulled away from public life for several days. She canceled all scheduled interviews, paused her filming commitments, and quietly returned to the privacy of her home. That was simply how he carried himself. It was the quiet weight he bore. Still, Phylicia isn't letting his memory fade quietly into the background. Instead, she's choosing to turn her sorrow into something meaningful, something that might offer hope to those silently suffering. Because what she's planning next could be a turning point for others, battling their pain in the shadows. In the days after Malcolm-Jamal Warner's heartbreaking death, the world came together in mourning a pause to honor a man whose brilliance shaped generations. But in one still sacred corner of that collective grief stood a woman mourning far more than just a colleague or old friend. She was grieving a son in every sense that truly mattered. For Phylicia Rashad, grief had the power to completely overwhelm her. The heaviness of regret, the pain of uncertainty, the unforgiving finality of loss, it could have broken her. But in true form, reflecting the strength and grace she's shown throughout her entire career, Phylicia chose a different response. She chose purpose. It began quietly with a small, intimate candlelight vigil. No press coverage, no cameras flashing, just those who truly knew Malcolm. At the center of that circle, Phylicia led a prayer, not as a star, but as a mother, as a healer. Her voice calm, yet full of power, she spoke. Malcolm was light. And when light leaves, we don't mourn its absence, we spread it. That one sentiment, so simple yet profound, marked the start of something greater. What began there is now becoming a movement in Malcolm's memory, a foundation for the unheard. Motivated by the unseen struggles Malcolm carried, Phylicia has reportedly started developing a mental health initiative specifically for Black men in the entertainment industry, quietly supported by longtime friends, fellow castmates, and philanthropic partners. This effort hopes to break the silence that too often leads to tragedy. She's calling it the Inner Voice Project, and its goal is clear: to create safe, open spaces for emotional release, therapy, mentorship, brotherhood, and true healing. Because maybe, just maybe, if Malcolm had somewhere to express himself fully without fear or judgment, he'd still be with us. We lost Theo, but the next brother doesn't have to be lost too. Not if we pay attention. Not if we truly see. That is the soul of Phylicia's mission. And now, Hollywood is taking notice. The support has been overwhelming. Fellow Cosby Show alumni Kishia Knight, Pulliam, Sabrina LeBeouf, even Lisa Bonet have stepped up to echo the message. Prominent figures like Shonda Rhimes and Tyler Perry have quietly offered their support, as well, knowing full well how often Hollywood glamour masks deep emotional wounds. Behind the scenes, Phylicia is already developing a televised tribute, not for fame, not for headlines, but to honor Malcolm's truth. A tribute that reveals who he really was: flawed, layered, and beautifully human. He wasn't perfect. He was in pain, and he was still beautiful, she shared. That's the version of Malcolm I want the world to remember. She's not trying to rewrite his legacy into sainthood. She has no intention of airbrushing the truth. What she wants is for people to remember the real man behind the smile, the soul that lived beneath the spotlight. Because if they can do that, then maybe someone else out there will feel just a little less alone. And as this chapter draws to a close, one final message to Malcolm. Phylicia reportedly wrote him a letter not meant for public eyes, but shared by a close friend who believed the world needed to hear it. You made us laugh. You made us proud. You made us feel seen. And now you've made us listen. I will carry your light, my son, until we meet again. With those words, this story doesn't end in silence, but in transformation. Malcolm-Jamal Warner may no longer be here physically, but his spirit has sparked something powerful. And thanks to Phylicia Rashad, his light won't just continue to shine, it will go on to save lives.